I'm Leah Lawrence.
And I'm her husband, Mitch Lawrence.
And you are listening to the Southern Spirits Podcast, where I regale my husband with Southern stories of the macabre, creepy, and strange.
And I drink.
So what are we drinking tonight, Mitchell?
Our beer tonight is Paradise Now Raspberry Berliner Weisse, brewed and packaged by Trim Tab Brewing in Birmingham, Alabama. It's 5% alcohol by volume, and nothing really on the cans, but let's read the online description. And before I get into it, I do want to say that online it says 5.2% alcohol by volume.
Ooh,
so
discrepancies.
Take that how you will. There we go. All right, here we go. Our award-winning Paradise Now Raspberry Berliner Weisse is a tart, refreshing wheat ale that is brewed with raspberry and tart cherry puree. Bready wheat notes provide a soft background and delicate mouthfeel, while the fruit and acidic flavors contrast to create a very refreshing but undeniably unique summer style. Whether you are a seasoned fan of sour beers or a novice craft beer drinker, Trim Tab Paradise Now is complex yet light and accessible enough to be a rewarding beer for all. End quote. And that's a very long synopsis, I believe. When it says award-winning, what it won was the Great American Beer Festival 2017 Bronze Medal for Fruited Wheat Beer category. So, there's that.
Excellent.
And what I have to say is it is fairly tart, but you can actually detect some raspberry, which is fun because you don't really get those kind of flavors. You want to try it? Mm-hmm. All right, Leah hasn't tried it because she's very sick, but we're getting there. So she's going to have one sip and then back to the medicine. It's refreshing, crisp, and delicious. I actually really like this a lot. I gave it a 9 out of 10 overall. Just another hometown favorite. Birmingham has a shitload of breweries now. And this one, they make some good beers, everything we've had from there. Which, on the show, we've only had one of the Wreck Water drinks and this beer. So, more Trim Tab to come later. Our shot in the dark for the night is Greenbrier Apple Moonshine. We've had it on before, bottled by Doc Collier in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. 20% alcohol by volume. And if you would like the full review, refer to episode number 45, which was entitled Weekend Hepatitis Outbreak.
What an episode title.
It was, and it got a 9 out of 10. Sticking with it, it's a good moonshine. And like I said, Leah's sick. She's been sick for a few days, but we think she also has a kidney stone. So what she's drinking is Italia Garden lemon juice. Italian lemon juice, excuse me. This is, I'm reading it off the bottle, packaged exclusively for Concord Foods, LLC in Brockton, Massachusetts.
So yeah, not so southern here, but yeah, I'm trying to not have a kidney stone, so.
Let's read the bottle real quick. Of course, refrigerate after opening, and keep in a cool, dry place away from sunlight. Yeah,
and it's pretty sour, so, you know.
No review for that one, though. No review, because that's ridiculous. Well, that's it for the alcohols, Leah. Yeah. Which reminds me, the shots in the dark, I'll be taking both of them no matter how the questions go, because she's sick and she's on medicine that she can't drink alcohol with.
Yes.
And I'm fine.
But I'm going to take a celebratory swig of lemon juice, so there you go.
With water. Mixed with water. Mm-hmm. Don't forget. Well, that's it, Leah. So what's up now?
All right. Well, we're going to go directly into our funny place name for the day.
All right.
And we're going to go directly to East Texas, to Freestone County, and we're going to be talking about Dew.
Dew? Mountain Dew.
Nope, just Dew.
Just Dew, Texas.
Just Dew, Texas. Excuse me. So Dew was first established in the 1850s, but it was first known as Avant. But they decided that they didn't like that name so well. So in the 1870s, there was a Methodist church from a little ways down the road, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to move it down the street here, build a new building, all that stuff." So they were known as the Sunshine Methodist Church. So then they named this area to Sunshine, Texas, because why not?
Yeah.
Well, in around 1885, they were like, we got to apply for a post office, and we don't really want to, name it Sunshine because that's a little weird. So they were trying to figure out what they were going to name it, what they were going to call it. And they eventually decided, you know what, there's this local guy. He is a stand-up guy. His name's Drew. right? And they were
Hey,
like,
Drew.
we're going to name this town after Drew. He's done so much for it. Just Drew. We're going to call it Drew, Texas.
All right.
Turns out whoever put in the application had real shitty handwriting, like real shitty handwriting, or didn't know how to spell Drew or something. But anyway, they went and sent that application off to the postmaster, and the postmaster was like, okay, you want to be due? You're due. So it comes back to the town that was trying to be called Drew, and they're like, oh, we're due now. So I guess we're just due now. And so they were, and they continued being due up until, well, now, after World War II, the town sort of died out a bunch.
World War II.
But but no, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
By the 90s, there were only about 71 people that were living there, and now it's even fewer than that. So
Goodness gracious.
it's a ghost town practically now. But that was the story of Dew.
The story of Dew. Well, that was fun. At least they didn't make an uproar over, well...
I
we
mean,
meant
it's
Drew.
Just it's like, you made a mistake. Drew, close enough. Fuck it. Let's be Dew.
Yeah, that's nice at least.
Yeah. No, let's speak to the manager.
Yeah.
Just,
excuse me.
We'll take it. It'll be fine.
Karen, you're due now. We now call it the Dew haircut.
Oh, bless. Anyway. So how about we go into our very first full-length story of the evening. Are you ready, Mitchell?
I'm so excited to hear you struggle through this.
I'm sorry. I know I sound like a frog that ate a man. I don't know, but it's... We're going to
I hope that's what this story is about, and you're just providing a little teaser.
No, we're going to Bath, North Carolina, and we're talking about the Bath Hoof Prints.
There's a place called Bath, North Carolina.
Well, yes, indeed, there is a place called Bath, North Carolina.
Yeah,
excuse
which one?
Me.
Come on now.
The north one. And we are going to be telling a story about a weird little anomaly that is found there in Bath and their hoof prints.
That's exciting.
Hence the Bath hoof prints.
Yeah.
All right, you ready for this story?
I am.
Alrighty, so our story starts in the early fall of 1813, so like October-ish, and our story circles around this dude, and his name is Jesse Elliott. Now, Jesse Elliott was kind of a dickhole.
They normally are.
He was just a hard-drinking, alcoholic, kind of wife-slapping around drunkard. And he was really intimidating, and he was really mean. He was the town bully kind of thing. And he also knew in his heart that he had the fastest horse around. He loved to bet on horse races, specifically races where he was racing his own horse against someone else.
Okay.
He let it be known far and wide throughout the county that he had the best, the fastest, the most... Fastest? I don't know.
Yeah, the most fastest.
I'm on cough syrup, y'all. If I sound drunk, I'm not. I promise.
You're
it's
on
the
cough
syrup.
pills. We just had this conversation.
I'm on cough pills,
This
but
is
anyway.
weird. Apparently, they're giving cough medicine in pill form now.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why. Leah seems to think it might be because it's probably less addictive.
No,
maybe?
I just think it's less easy to like mix it with a drink, like people do that scissorp or whatever. Don't laugh at me. That's what they call it.
I know, but it's so funny when you talk.
The teenagers mix it with Kool-Aid and liquor.
Yes, they do. Those hoodlums.
I'm sorry. That's what they call it. But anyway, just fuck off,
I'm
Mitchell.
just so happy that happened.
Anyway, but yes, I'm on cough medicine, so please don't judge me for repeating myself. Anyway, so he had the bestest, the fastest, the most rocking horse, and he was really good at racing that horse super fast. So one Sunday morning, he was out and about, and he was doing a little bit of drinking, wandering here and there, etc. Now, there's this black-clad rider riding a coal black stallion that just showed up into town one afternoon.
This is ominous.
And he came up to Jesse and he challenged Jesse to a race that day. And he said that I bet $100, and this is $100 in 1813, y'all. That's a fuck
It's
ton
like
of money.
$3 million.
It's not that much, but it's a lot of money. And so he was like, look, I'm going to bet you $100 that you're going to fucking lose, dude. And so Jess was like, oh, excuse you, super pumped. I will meet you at that racetrack in an hour. Let me go get my horse because I'm about to win all your money. And so that's what happened. So Jesse went back home.
I'm going to use all that money to buy me some scissor.
Stop. So Jesse went back home and he got his horse and he said, hey, wife, I'm going to go do this.
Wife.
And they never say what his wife's name, Miss Elliot, I guess, but shot in the dark.
Oh, God. I'm not ready. I'm pouring more Paradise Now. There we go.
All right. When Jesse got home, his wife was not happy with what was about to go down. What exactly did she warn him against? Did she warn him against A, riding a horse on a Sunday, B, gambling on a Sunday, or C, drinking on a Sunday?
Well, hold on. I'm pouring the shot. I'm sorry. Like, honestly, living around here, for some reason, I just know that most people think that gambling is like one of the worst things in the fucking world. And I don't get it. But I'm saying gambling on a Sunday.
You're correct.
Woo!
It was gambling on a Sunday. And you're 100% right. I grew up believing that gambling was the absolute devil, but which is very strange because my mom loved a fucking slot machine. Like, bless her heart. If there was a play, like when we used to go to the mountains and do, like we would go to arcades, she'd sit at one of those arcade, like those poker ones with the spinny wheels. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know.
She loved those machines, and my mama loved a good slot machine.
Well, here, I'm going to take this shot of Greenbrier apple.
All right, well, I'm going to take a swig off of this Italian.
Please don't just drink the lemon juice by itself.
No,
Please put it in water.
No.
You have to suffer somehow.
Ready?
Yeah.
One, two, three. That's actually kind of delicious.
So is mine.
I
Quite
like lemon
wonderful.
a lot.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know you like lemon.
I love lemon juice. I don't like lemons floating in my water because I find it very gross. Like, I'm not kidding. I don't want... People don't treat lemons well in food service, and I don't want... Yeah, it's really gross. It's one of the dirtiest things in a restaurant is the cut lemons, as far as I've been told and as far as I have been around stuff like that. So, no, I will never get a lemon in my cup on purpose. But lemon juice by itself, I'm down for. Anyway,
this is the strangest thing I've heard today.
I'm sorry.
I've heard that, like, at Moe's Southwest restaurants?
Yes.
Where they have the salsa bar? Mm-hmm. I've heard that the salsa bar stays out for like 3 days at a time.
Oh, that's disturbing, but I don't eat off of that, so I don't care.
I mean, I like the salsa.
I'm not a salsa person. Anyway.
I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying people have said it.
I would say allegedly, because Moe's don't come at us. We love you.
Yeah, Moe's with our giant outreach.
Welcome to Moe's.
God, we have influenced so many people to not go to Moe's. Not the crippling diarrhea. That has not disrecruited.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Oh, that's fucking fact. Take that to the bank. You eat Moe's, you will have diarrhea within 15 minutes.
Well, I mean, that's the same thing like you get at any of those Mexican restaurants, Qdoba, Chipotle. They're all the same. You will end up in the bathroom eventually.
The flavor isn't the same, but the consequences always are.
Generally speaking. Anyway, that's gross. Let's keep going. When Jesse got home to get his horse, his wife was like, Jesse, you better not be betting on the Sabbath. You can't go gambling on Sunday. Don't do it. But instead of taking his wife's advice and just not gambling on $100, which was a lot of money that they couldn't afford to not win, you know what I mean?
You take that bet.
He slapped her across the face and was like, bitch, I'm going to go get my horse. And so we did.
That's not funny. That's so not funny.
No, that is domestic violence, and you should not be laughing right now.
But when you meant that to be funny. Don't
did not.
you dare victim blame me in this.
What?
You're blaming the victim, the comedy victim. When you say, bitch, I'm going to go get my horse.
Well,
that's funny, Leah.
He went and he got his horse.
Yeah.
And before he rode away, he took 2 shots of whiskey because why not?
Yeah.
Like you do.
Yeah.
And so he rode off to the race, and he was like cursing his wife on the way out. Mm-hmm. Like just being...
I've been trashed every time I've been on a horse.
You know what I mean?
So I get it.
Yeah. And so she was like...
I've never been on a horse. I've just been trashed a lot. So some of those could have been... I could have been on a horse. I don't know.
I've only ever been on horses as a kid, like with the, when they would ride you around the...
While someone else is holding it.
Yeah, while someone else is leading the horse. I've never been on a horse going somewhere. It's always been in a circle.
Horse with a purpose.
Yeah, exactly. I've been on a round and round horse, but never a let's go somewhere horse. But anyway.
Your descriptions are just the best.
I'm sorry. Anyway.
And I don't know if y'all can hear. Our dogs are barking in the other room.
They're bad dogs.
So I'm sorry if you do hear that, but maybe not. But I'm not going to pause this to go beat them or anything.
You're not going to beat the dogs in the first place.
Yeah, but I got to assert my dominance somehow. Over these animals, Leah.
Alrighty, well, let's get back to the story. So, Jesse has taken 2 shots of whiskey, and then he's riding off to the race, just screaming behind him, "Bye, bitch!" And
did he really say that?
No. Oh. And his wife yelled, like she's livid. She's been smacked. She's been abused. She's like, "Oh, Jesse Elliott, I hope you go to hell this very day."
Oh.
And that was her curse to him.
She's a witch. Burn her at the stake.
And so Jesse finally gets to this racetrack, and there are a few of his friends that have heard about, there's going to be a race, and they're all drunk and awful. He's got terrible friends, is my point.
Yeah.
And so that stranger in the dark outfit and the black horse...
You try making good friends in the 1800s.
You're right. You got to take who's around, I guess. But so the stranger comes up, and he was awaiting, and so the man was real chill, like super chill, just like... calm, and that freaked Jesse out a little bit because he was like, why isn't this guy a little bit more nervous or scared, because like he's gonna lose that $100 because I have the fastest horse in the county,
fastest horse,
the mostest fastest horse in the county.
Yeah.
And so
it is the mostest horse, that's for sure.
He was a little bothered, but he was like, you know what, I'm gonna win this race, I'm gonna get that $100. Fuck that guy. So they're getting ready. So one of his friends started the race with a pistol shot. So both riders start from the starting line like you do.
Well, I'd hope
and so they take off, and Jesse's in the lead, and the stranger keeps falling farther and farther behind. And Jesse's like, hell yeah, I'm going to win this race. That guy ain't got nothing on my fastest horses.
Yeah.
And so... he just kept going, and he was so excited that he was winning. He was like, take me in a winner or take me to hell. Like, I'm a winner, fuck me kind of thing. Just an offhanded compliment.
You can just have both, man.
Yeah. But as soon as he said that, the horse sort of went around a curve in the track, and the horse sort of twisted his head and sort of reared up. And there
was a snake.
No, we don't know why.
It was a snake.
That violent sort of flipping move that the horse did when it got startled, it sent Jesse flying out of the saddle head first into a pine tree, and it killed him instantly.
Jesus.
Now, the hoof prints from where that horse came back down are still there to this day, and we'll talk about them in a minute.
That's the point. That's the title of the story.
Yeah. But the mysterious dark rider guy, he rode past Jesse, who was dead, and he disappeared over the hill with Jesse's horse following him. And there was no trace of either him or the horses ever seen again. And basically, the folklore sort of grew up around that story, saying that it was the devil himself that had been riding the other horse, and that he took Jesse to hell right then and there with the black stallion and all that nonsense, right? So almost a year after Jesse had died, like hair from his head remained like sort of embedded in the tree. Yeah. And
pieces of his scalp were left in the tree.
Yeah, and within a few days of that like wreck occurred, the tree started turning brown and rotting from the side where Jesse's head had hit.
Yeah, it had scalp in it.
Yeah.
It can't grow.
Gross. And those hoof prints that the horse left in that really loose topsoily kind of stuff are still there and visible over 200 years later. And they are, you can look it up. It's on private property right now. But it's still there. It's kind of overgrown in the area, but you can still go see it. You can look up the pictures online. They're just two round spots where nothing grows and stuff like that. But yeah, those horse hoofs are still there, and basically the incident, the story of it spread, and everybody basically was warned against doing anything on Sunday that you ought not be doing. And the preacher in the town were just like, yeah, the hoof prints were left by a man on his way to hell.
By a gambler.
Yeah, by those dirty gamblers. And so, yeah, like I said, they are still there. In North Carolina, there are descriptions online of how to find it. Like I said, I think it's on private property right now, though, so maybe don't. But they're actually in the 50s, this story sort of got around, and a news crew sort of came out to investigate it and get pictures of the strange markings on the ground. And the old folk around that area were like, oh yeah, they've been there forever. And they'd say that you could spread corn feed out for chickens on those areas, and the chickens would eat all the kernels of corn that were around it, but they wouldn't eat anything that was in the little holes. They wouldn't touch them at all. And the crew was like, oh, bullshit, that's dumb. And so they got a flock of chickens and they spread that corn feed out. And sure enough, they've got recordings of it. The birds ate everything around the hole, but they wouldn't eat anything that was in the hole. Anytime something's left over the hole, it sort of decays and goes away. It's weird. I don't know. It's strange. But like I said, there's a bunch of different
I just believe we found the North Pole.
Experiments and stuff.
That's all it is. That's where there's got to be a magnetic pole there somewhere.
I don't know, but yeah, it's just really, really interesting stuff. But yeah, they're still there. They're just two weird little holes that don't get filled in. Because it's the devil's hoof prints, I guess.
Well, that's fun.
Well, the horse's hoof prints, but you know, the devil was involved.
Obviously.
Tangentially devil hoof prints.
Yeah. I'm not sure what tangentially means. But I agree.
Like it's a tangent.
Yeah. Is it a sine or a cosine?
No.
Hey.
Math
Hashtag math jokes.
We're working on a higher level of humor today.
Y'all, oh my God, I have to tell that joke that when we were sitting at Chick-fil-A like 2 months ago. Oh my God, y'all, it's the worst joke I've ever told in my life.
It's not, but okay.
Oh, it was a bad one though. It was very funny. Leah and I were eating at Chick-fil-A, and there was a group. It was a Wednesday night, I believe, because there was a group of children there that had obviously just come from church. And I mean children, like 9, 10-year-olds. And one of them, you could hear him from across the restaurant. He said to the group, "They call me C because I like chicken." And I mean, I did not skip a beat. I said, "Leah, you heard that kid, right?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, they call me C squared because I'm the hypotenuse." And she did not find it funny at all. But God damn it, I did. I thought it was fucking hilarious. And I am still proud of it. To this day. Hashtag math jokes.
I'm still mad at you about that.
I think it's a great fucking joke.
It's just weird, but anyway.
I told it to one of my friends who's a math teacher. Like a high school level math teacher. And he said, "Yeah, that's fucking terrible." I was like, I thought it was great.
You should feel bad about it, but whatever. Anyway, so... we've got another story.
Oh, yeah. Second story, please.
You want to get into that?
Hold on. First, I have to do this. It's for my math
Giving yourself your own laugh track?
Yep.
All right.
It's a good joke. I don't give a fuck.
Okay, so our next story delves into the true crime area of stuff.
Yay.
So if you're not down with a couple murders, maybe, skip to the end.
Come on, get down with the murders.
Okay, that was weird. But yeah, there is a depiction of a bludgeoning death. So if you don't want to hear that, don't listen to this story. Okay, bye. All right, if everybody else is still there, let's get on with it. We're going to do a story from Lake County, Florida. We're doing the teenage vampire murder cult.
Teenage vampire murder cult?
Yeah.
Where again?
Florida, but also it starts in Kentucky, goes down to Florida, Louisiana. It's all over the South, but generally the murders happened in Florida.
This is exciting. I love anything teenage. Teenage vampire murder cult. Teenage vampire murder cult. You know that's what you were thinking too.
Yeah, I want to sing along, but I don't want to sing that.
I spilled raspberry on my nuts. God damn it. It's so cold. Oh, right in my crotch. Fucking A. I got really into dancing to Teenage Vampire Murder Cult. Maybe don't dance with the beer in the hand.
Probably not. All right, so...
Hashtag raspberry nuts.
We are going to be talking
that was terrible.
about Eustis, Florida.
Okay.
Eustis, Florida is about 40 miles away from Orlando. It's pretty small. It's got about 19,000 people in it. And I thought it was a fun fact about the town. It has nothing to do with the story, but they have something called George Fest every February.
For George Foreman?
No, for George Washington.
Oh, God, and way lamer.
Yeah. It's been held every February since 1902, so they're the second longest running ongoing annual event in the country. George Fest in Eustis, Florida. Like I said, it has nothing to do with that. I just found it amusing.
Look, that sounds like the worst festival.
You don't want to go to George Fest?
No, I don't. If it was about George Foreman, I'd go.
Okay.
All of his 64 children make an appearance.
George.
Yeah, all the Georges.
All right. Well, this story starts on, the murders happened on November the 25th of 1996.
Oh.
So it's November the 25th of 1996. It's pretty late at night. There's a 17-year-old girl. Her name is Jennifer Windorf, and she's coming home after sort of a late night out with her friends. Now, it's past her curfew, and she knew it, so she was trying to sneak her ass back in the house. So she didn't want to draw any of attention. She wanted to just get in her room and go to bed. Well, she sneaks in the house, and she walks past her dad, who was on the couch watching television. And she was like, oh, I made it past him.
Yay.
But it was a little too easy.
Yeah.
Because she walked into her kitchen and her mother's dead body was lying in a pool of blood.
Oh, God.
And she realized as she went back to check on her father that her father was also dead in a pool of his own blood. So she freaked the fuck out like anybody would, and she called 911 and was like, guys,
hello,
we've got some corpses here. You need to come out. It was much more frantic. Actually, Oxygen did a series of cult things, and this is one of them, so you can listen to the actual 911 call in that if that's your thing. 911 calls make me very uncomfortable, so I don't like to listen to them, but if that's your thing, that is available.
No, I'm not into that.
No. So she was like, oh shit, people have been murdered, the car has been stolen, my 15-year-old sister is missing, she's not in the house, we don't know what's going on, come out here. So they put a bolo out on the car. They get people over there and they're like, okay, so is there anybody that would have wanted to murder your parents? do you think your sister ran away? Was your sister involved? Is she being kidnapped? What's going on? But eventually the daughter, that 17-year-old, basically the daughter was like, yeah, I think Heather was probably involved, and I think this guy that she's been talking to named Rod Farrell is probably the one that was involved and the one that did it. And so the detectives were like, okay.
Was he the Donatello of the group? No, Leonardo was the leader. I am so sorry to everyone I just offended. My
yes,
God, that includes myself. Fuck.
And so, yeah, they were like, all right, we'll look into him. And so they did. So this Rod Farrell guy was originally from Murray, Kentucky. He grew up in a really dysfunctional home. His mom was absolutely unstable. She'd been arrested for lots of creepy things, not the least of which was like writing really gross love letters to like a 14-year-old child while she was like 34. Like, she was a creep.
How do you mean really gross? I want details.
Like, just really like sexually like, just, it's gross. And so
fucking gross.
That lady was fucked up, and she raised a child that was also fucked up.
Well, because he turned into the leader of the teenage vampire murder cult.
Indeed.
Heroes with the weird fangs, emo power.
You've been working on that since we started this story, haven't you?
I didn't want to say that, but I haven't spoken because I've been thinking, what can I say?
You're ridiculous.
And that's what I came up with all that time. And look at the brilliance that came out of it.
Good job. Well, he grew up...
The hypotenuse, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, he grew up in a super dysfunctional home. His mom was weird. He was weird. In a bad way, and he got into lots of drugs. So he was doing cocaine, heroin, LSD, acid, anything that
all
he
the
could
good
find.
Stuff. Yeah.
All of the hard drugs. He was on it by the time he was in high school.
Jesus.
And he was also a super duper goth. He was into the occult. Like, he really, but not like the light side occult, but like dark shit, like demons and
Cthulhu.
Yeah, I was going to say he had a copy of the Necronomicon, which isn't even a real thing. It's a fictional
he wrote it
book,
himself.
And like the Satanic Bible and that kind of thing. He was really going for that super goth creep factor.
He had the Book of the Dead from the movie The Mummy. He was doing all the weird shit.
Yeah, he was super, like, just a 90s goth guy, but like extra. But then
extra goth is too much goth.
One of his friends introduced him to vampirism.
Oh God. Now that's extra goth.
That is extra goth.
You know, I mean, like, I'll just stick here, hold the extra goth. I don't want to think that I need to drink blood.
Yeah. So what started oh my God, this is the nerdiest part. What started his introduction into the vampire subculture, which there is one which fascinates me, by the way. Not all of them actually drink blood. Some of them do, some don't. Anyway, but what caused this guy to get into vampirism was the tabletop RPG Vampire the Masquerade.
That's a thing?
It is.
Never heard of it.
It's they've actually made it into RPG video games. Like, you can like go online and buy Vampire the Masquerade video games. But originally it was an RPG tabletop, sort of Dungeons and Dragons style, but less like adventure questing kind of stuff, and more like
sexy
role playing, being a vampire and fighting against vampire hunters and having fights against other vampires. But anyway,
that sounds like an entry level, like you were talking about how there are vampire subcultures that drink blood. Did I watch that with you, where we watched people actually drink blood from each other?
I've seen that documentary, so if it wasn't with me, I know the one that you're talking about.
Like, they prick each other in the back and drink the blood off their back.
Yeah, we watched that together.
Oh, it's fucking weird and gross.
Yeah. Well,
I don't even remember what it was. I just remember seeing it.
I want to say it was like an episode of Taboo or something like that.
It might have been. It's like if anyone hasn't seen it, it's like a swinger party.
Yeah,
but what they are doing is undressing each other, but then turning around and cutting each other's backs and drinking blood out of it.
Yeah, which, I mean, if they're consenting adults and they've all had blood tests, okay.
Do you want hepatitis? Because that's how you get hepatitis.
That is how you get hepatitis. But once again, I'm not going to kink shame anyone. Just do it safely, please. Like, seriously. But this is a 17-year-old child that doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, has gotten himself deep into this vampire thing. So he decides that he's going to start his own little cult. And he gets a little following of folk. And they come up with their own vampire rituals. And they start drinking each other's blood in the belief that it was the elixir of life and love. So they're having these weird, like...
They're definitely fucking each other,
they're fucking, for sure. And they're, like I said, and they're literally cutting each other open and drinking each other's blood. Like, it's gone weird places. And so this kid was already a little bit mentally ill. And he was abusing drugs and like hallucinogens specifically. And so this mixture, shot in the dark.
Oh, fuck. Hold on. I actually just moved the soundboard. Hold on. Fucking A. Do it again.
Shot in the dark.
Oh, edited like a champion.
Mm-hmm. A mixture of mental illness, drug abuse, and fantasy led Farrell to believe that he was an actual vampire named Visago.
Oh.
How old did he believe Visago the vampire was? Was he A, 250 years old? Mm-hmm. Was he B, 500 years old? Or was he C, 1,000 years old? How old was he as Visago the vampire?
I know this. A good Asiago is aged. That's all I'm saying.
It's
all right.
Visago, but...
Yeah, I love Visago cheese. That's an Italian, and it is aged for a few years at least.
Yeah, but how many?
I'll say 250.
You're incorrect. He was 500 years old, Visago the vampire. And he went around telling people that he was a 500-year-old vampire named Visago.
And that's why he never got laid.
I think he got laid, though. That's the problem.
The problem is he was getting laid. People were accepting this behavior, condoning it, and boning it. Condoning and boning. Episode title. Got it. That's why I'm the hypotenuse, everyone.
Oh, I hate everything about what you just said.
Why?
Because it was terrible.
Oh, that shot. Oh. There was nothing terrible about that.
Anyway, so A began recruiting other members of his little vampire cult. He called it the Vampire Clan. So he brought on board a guy named Howard Scott Anderson, a girl named Charity Kesey, and a girl named Dana Cooper. And they were all from families that were kind of troubled and not great. And, you know, they just... bunch of goth kids needed to hang out kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so he just started this group, and apparently he was pretty charismatic and was really good at leading and stuff. And so he basically got them to do some weird shit. Ugh. He kind of was having a good time, leader of this vampire cult, when all of a sudden this terrible mother that he happens to have, the mother was in a long distance relationship with a boyfriend, and the boyfriend was living in Eustis, Florida. And so they were like, yeah, I know you're have friends and stuff here, but we're moving to Florida now. And so they did.
Fuck that kid, though.
Yeah.
He doesn't need friends, period.
And so she just uprooted him from his friends in Kentucky, moved them to Eustis, Florida to live with her boyfriend, which was a tumultuous relationship in and of itself, and it wouldn't last long. But while they were in Eustis, Florida, he met a girl named Heather. Now, Heather was the 15-year-old girl that they couldn't find earlier, the sister of the girl that found the parents.
Right. This is all coming together.
It's coming full circle, y'all.
You did a real fine job.
Thanks.
Of like, you really Tarantino'd this story.
Start at the ends, come back, work your way up. But we've rounded it, and we're gonna figure it out.
And just for a second, we're gonna have a Bruce Willis story.
We're not.
Just right in here somewhere.
Anyway, so he met Heather there in Eustis, Florida, and the two became like best friends. They were hanging out, and like he was sort of grooming her to be a vampire as well, I guess. Not all the way, but like they were hanging out and having fun and all that. And as soon as like he's starting to adjust to life in Florida, getting comfortable with everything, his mom and that other guy broke up, and she's like, "Fuck this shit, we're going back to Kentucky." And so he was like just uprooted one more time, and they moved back to Kentucky. So he keeps in touch with Heather this whole time. They are always on the phone with each other. They exchange letters and stuff like that. And so like they're just in constant communication with each other. And so he's back in Kentucky. He's got his vampire clan back together. They're hanging out. Visago's just chilling. And so basically what happens is that Heather starts confiding in this Visago.
Asiago.
In Asiago.
Yes.
That she's like, my house kind of sucks. I don't like my parents. And it's claimed that she's saying that, oh, my dad's abusing me and my mom's just letting it happen. And which no one ever said any of whether that was actually going on or not. Like I could never find information as to whether that was an accurate charge or not. But anyway, that's what the story is that she was being excuse me.
Ooh, goodness.
That she was being abused, and he was like really upset about it. So basically he was like, it's okay, we're gonna come and get you, basically.
From Kentucky?
From Kentucky. We're gonna
that's a
come
long
down.
Fucking drive.
I know, right? We're gonna travel from Kentucky. We're gonna go all the way down to Florida.
He can fly, though. He's a vampire.
I don't think he's that kind of vampire, but
no, then he's not a vampire. I don't know if we should tell him.
I think he's more of a Lestat kind of vampire. He doesn't fly.
No.
Well, kinda.
God damn it.
Anyway, so they...
Were you proud of yourself or something?
I just amused myself, yes. So Farrell, that, and the other three members of his little cult, whatever.
Teenage vampire murder cult.
You're right.
I don't want to have to tell you again.
So the other three get in the car. They all travel down to Florida. So when they get in Florida, the plan is that they're going to do this. They're going to pick Heather up at her parents' house. She's going to leave all the doors and shit unlocked. And they're going to go to a nearby like cemetery to induct her into the vampire cult. So they picked her up and they did like a bloodletting drinking thing. They called it crossing over. And basically that feral guy and the Heather, they pierced each other's wrists and they like drank each other's blood, which is gross. And so initially they said that like the plan was just to pick Heather up, steal the family's car, and like go back to Kentucky, right? So Heather left all of the doors open, left the garage door open, and Heather told him where the car keys were. They were in the like bedside table for her in her parents' bedroom. And so like that was the whole thing. The two guys were gonna come in, they were gonna steal the car, leave, and they were all gonna just, well, it turns out that didn't work exactly the way they thought. So while they were doing that whole like crossing over, drinking each other's blood thing, they were also doing lots of drugs. They
sounds awesome.
Popped pills. They were dropping acid. Like they were on shit, like real shit. They were fucked up off their rockers high. And so I know I'm not very good at describing that because I've never done any of those drugs, but
you're doing great.
I think that's what you call it, dropping acid. Is that what you do with acid? No,
that's accurate. I haven't done them either, but you're doing a great job of describing it.
So like I said, they're all off their tits, and so
No, you're doing great.
They were like a little bit more susceptible to, like shit's gonna go down. So the girls are in the car and they drop Rod and Scott off near Heather's house around 9 o'clock that night. So the two walk to the house, open the garage door that Heather left unlocked for them. And initially they only had sticks, just wooden sticks in their hand to go fight off two grown-ass adults.
What?
And steal their car. Like they had only...
twigs?
Like sticks. Like just sticks. Nothing fancy, just a stick.
That's not going to get it done, bro.
Well, yeah, exactly. And so...
It needs to at least be tempered.
Like, and this Rod guy has done a lot of interviews, so this is the quote. It said, "We had sticks, just wooden sticks in our hands. I didn't know how big her father was, and I was slightly worried about that, and I knew a grown man could smash me to the ground without a second thought. I see an axe. Oh, there's an axe. It's been done before. Chainsaw? That's too loud. That's when I found a crowbar. It was something I knew I could swat somebody away with and run if I had to." So he picks up this murder weapon in their own garage. Because initially all they were going for was sticks, which is a little weird because that whole wooden stake through the heart being a vampire trope is a little weird, but...
Yeah, that was bothering me.
Anyway.
But, I think they acknowledge that they're not real vampires.
No, they're pretty damn sure that they're real vampires.
I'm saying the wooden stake thing, like they probably eat a lot of garlic, I'm just saying they probably know at their core, they're like, okay, this is bullshit, but it's fun. And I'm having a great time and I identify as this thing, but I'm definitely not a vampire. Like, if I get stabbed in the heart, I'm going to die either way.
I don't know. He was from everything that I read, he was incredibly convinced that he was, had role-played so long that he had believed his own bullshit. Kind of that he was a 500-year-old vampire with powers. But anyway, so they are armed with this crowbar, and they go in and they see Heather's dad, Richard, asleep on the couch. So they went into the back bedrooms, and they couldn't find the bedrooms where Heather told them the keys would be. And so they were like, we're high, we're trying to find something. Anyway, basically, for whatever reason, he snaps. He loses absolute control of himself, and his dad didn't even have time to get up or defend himself or anything. He just beat him to death with a crowbar.
Goodness.
Blood everywhere. He described it as becoming a berserker. He couldn't stop it. It was just pure drugs and rage. And he beat that guy over 20 times, and he just gaping holes in his body. It was very bad. And so he, like I said, beat the dad to death. And so after that happened, he goes around, and the mother, who was in the shower at the time, had gotten out, and she was wearing a bathrobe, and she had a cup of coffee, and she walks in on this scene, and she's like, holy shit. And so he comes... he says in the interviews that he wasn't planning on killing anybody. But then when he killed the dad, he was like, I'm not going to kill the mom. The dad's the one that's been abusing, not going to kill the mom. But then the mom, throws the hot coffee in his face because, she's trying to defend herself with the only thing that she's got in her hand. Yeah. And he was like, yeah, it just pissed me off. And so he starts bludgeoning her to death with a crowbar, just like she did the husband. And so eventually, so they're both dead. That sister is out of the house, so she's thankfully okay. But they found the master bedroom. They grabbed some valuables out of there, and they got the keys and they took the car and they left and they got with all the girls. And anyway, they end up going on sort of a weird road trip. So they end up dumping the murder weapon and any of the other evidence they could collect into the Mississippi River. And they got new clothes. They threw their bloody clothes off. And they ended up going through like 4 or 5 different states over the course of the next few days, just trying to take sort of a circuitous route so that they wouldn't get caught.
Yeah.
Now, it ended up that they would actually get pulled over by police 5 times before they were finally caught.
Jesus, how does that happen?
Yeah, how does that happen? But this is the quote from the bad guy.
It was the 90s. Things moved slower.
It said, they were expecting a teenage cult-leading psychopath, and instead I was speaking to them with every courtesy, quiet. I always had my story set up. I already told the others we were college students from Texas or Iowa or whatever, and basically they were on their way to New Orleans for Mardi Gras was their story. And so...
Was it Mardi Gras season?
Yeah.
When was this? January?
Oh, that's...
February? Yeah, Mardi Gras is in
I was like,
February.
That's in February. That's weird, but that's what the story said.
Well, when were the murders?
November the 25th.
Yeah, that's not Mardi Gras season. They were
weird.
just getting a jump start on Mardi Gras.
I guess, but that's what I saw written in a couple of the different accounts.
Something's fucked up here.
That would be wrong. But anyway, so they're on their way to New Orleans, and anyway, eventually they've gone through a few different states, and they eventually decide that they should go to Baton Rouge because they can keep a lower profile. Maybe people wouldn't be looking for them as much, and that's what they're going on. So they traveled through 4 states in 4 days, and they ended up running out of money once they hit Baton Rouge. And so eventually one of the girls, the one whose last name is Kesey, she ended up like calling her grandmother, asking for her to wire them money and so they could get back home. And the grandmother knew what had gone down, knew her granddaughter was involved, and was like, yeah, and she ended up telling the police where they were.
Yeah.
And they basically used the grandmother to trick the teens into going to a local Howard Johnson hotel. Because the grandmother said, oh, I've paid for you a hotel over the phone. You stay there and, we'll get you money wired and you can come back up. Well, the police were waiting at that hotel. Thanks, Grandma.
Yeah.
And
Grandma's a cunt.
So yeah, they were all arrested without incident. They got booked in the county jail, and they ended up being moved to a juvenile facility. So in 1998, Rod Farrell pleaded guilty to the charges of first-degree murder, but he also was just adamant about the fact that all of the people that were traveling with him were innocent, that the Scott guy that was with him, while he was there, only watched. He didn't touch anybody. He didn't hurt anybody. He was just along for the ride kind of thing. And so basically, Farrell ended up getting sentenced to death, and that made him the youngest inmate on death row ever because he was 17 at the time. And that was basically the record for the youngest until 2000. And in 2000, his sentence was actually commuted to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Does
he still believe he's a vampire?
I don't think so.
A 500-year-old vampire?
No. But despite the testimony saying that the girls and all weren't involved, the Kesey girl was convicted of 2 counts of third-degree murder, robbery with a gun or deadly weapon, and burglary with an armed weapon or explosives. And she was sentenced to 10.5 years in a state prison. Cooper was convicted of the same thing. But she got a 17.5-year sentence, and they were released from prison in 2006 and 2011. And then let's see, that Anderson guy was convicted of a felony murder and given a life sentence without the possibility of parole. But in 2016, there was a Supreme Court ruling that had to do with like whether juveniles can be given life in sentence or life in prison or not. So they had new sentencing hearings. So that Scott Anderson was resentenced to 40 years in prison with credit for his time served. So he'll get out in 2032.
How exciting. So close.
But yeah, so the only person still left in prison from that is him. And then the Rod Farrell, who will never get out of prison.
Yeah. Probably. He'll probably never get out.
Well, I mean, if everything works the way it should, he will never get out of prison. But but yeah, there's actually a lot of interviews and stuff with him, and he's like, yeah, I was fucked up. I was on drugs. It's a problem. But no, I don't believe that he thinks that he's a vampire anymore. I think it's he's an adult and he understands that he fucked up and completely understands that he's where he deserves to be. So yeah.
Well, that's always good. Good for him. Making peace with his demons, I guess. I don't fucking know. What a creep ass.
I know, right?
Yeah, for real.
And I was looking it up and I was like, why the fuck would you pick the name Visago? Because that's like a weird ass name.
This sounds like Asiago.
And it turns out that, like, I was looking it up, and in the book The Key of Solomon, which is like a magic grimoire of sorts.
Good God.
About demons and whatever. But Visago is actually Satan's third in command. Like, he's the demon that's third in command under Satan, so.
That makes sense.
Yeah, which I don't know why you wouldn't pick the second in command or just call yourself Satan if that's what you're into, but yeah. He picked the third tier, Visago.
Yeah.
Weird. That was just a weird fun fact that I just wondered why you would pick a name like that, but apparently it's the name of a demon.
Well, he's just a fucking weirdo anyway.
I'd be Pecorino Romano myself, but whatever.
I'd be blue cheese. That's it. That's all I got. Gorgonzola.
That's better. That's more demonic sounding.
I'd be Gorgonzola.
Gorgonzola and Pecorino.
I'd be Vermont white cheddar.
Oh, yeah.
That's not a funny sounding cheese. What's a funny cheese?
Still, Manchego.
Yeah, I'd be Manchego. I'd be a, what's the one we did in the bread bowl that one time?
Oh, Camembert.
I'd be Camembert, the teenage vampire.
Oh,
yeah,
love
y'all.
A Camembert.
There's this thing that Leah found where you get a bread bowl thing. Well, it's a bread. It's just a big loaf of bread.
And you hollow out a hole.
Yeah.
And you take a Camembert, which is, it's a soft cheese, kind of like a brie. Yeah. They carry it at Publix. Just ask for a Camembert. And you... And you shove you garlic butter the inside of the bread and you sort of toast it a little bit and then you shove the Camembert down into the hole and then you stick all of that shit in the oven. And then you take the top that you cut off of it and cut it into chunks and dip that in garlic butter and you make little croutons. And anyway.
Oh, yeah. It's so good.
You dip the garlic bread croutons into the bread bowl of Camembert that's now melted, and it is the most fucking delicious thing that you've ever had. It's sinful how delicious it is, and then you get to eat the bread bowl. It is carbs on carbs on carbs, but Jesus, it's delicious.
And you will never shit again.
You won't, but you will have experienced, the height of carbs. But seriously, a loaf of, one of the round loaves from Publix and a Camembert, it's pretty cheap and it's fancy as fuck. So if you're ever at a dinner party and you want to be, real cool, do that. 100% recommend. I think it was a BuzzFeed recipe that I got years ago.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 would try.
Again.
Yes.
Because we've tried it once and it was
But
wonderful.
I mean, they should try it because it's so fucking
10 out of
good.
10 should try.
Yeah.
That's what you should say.
You're right.
There you
go. Okay.
Well, let's just get a toast. This is getting out of hand.
All right, everybody, hoist your goblets high into the sky. I've got my lemon water. Mitch
it's a lemon, Leah. You're drinking out of a lemon.
Mitch has his raspberry beer.
Yeah.
And we're going to be toasting some folks. All right.
Oh, those folks.
On the Sabbath, you should never gamble your paycheck. the devil and his horse will come. Nope, let me try that again.
Yeah, this is terrible so far. Go ahead, try again.
On the Sabbath, you should never gamble your paycheck. The devil and his horse will come and drag you off to heck. What am I doing here? This is terrible.
That's really bad, Leah.
Oh, the meter's miserable. Y'all, I'm on medicine.
Okay, all right.
Second part.
Third time. Start over, and I won't interrupt at all. Go.
On the Sabbath, you should never gamble off your paycheck. The devil and his horse will come and drag you off to heck. That's still bad.
It's not terrible.
Drinking blood is dangerous and really kind of icky, and getting all those bloodstains out is really very tricky. Drink.
It was better when you really tried. You did much better.
I'm sorry, guys. I hope you didn't mind listening to the man-frog voice that I have right now.
I like your man-frog voice just fine.
Thank you.
I think it was quite soothing. I think everyone enjoyed it. But if you didn't, feel free to send us a message on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Just search for Southern Spirits Podcast. We are there. Join the community chat. Get in on the conversation. I post a lot of funny videos about, pictures about dog testicles.
What?
Recently. It was a dog scrotum. It wasn't the testicles. It was a thing.
Did I miss that?
Yeah, probably. But I'll show you in a minute.
I post a lot of possums, and those are cute.
Yeah.
So.
It's on the community chat. You can see it if you get on there right now. Also, join our Patreon. Patreon.com/Southern Spirits Podcast. Get you some fun swag and just be a supporter. Which you can be a supporter however you want, but, we would appreciate that.
And support also means telling other people about our podcast. If you've got friends that listen to podcasts, hell, if you've got friends that don't listen to podcasts, say, hey, I've got a podcast for you, and stick us in their ears.
Yep. Do that.
It'd be great.
I'll do it. I'm just saying. But we haven't done it in a long time, but we will send you some stickers if you leave us a review and send us a screenshot of that review with your address. We will mail you out some stickers that you can distribute at your leisure.
Indeed.
Yeah, and if you have any fun stories to send us, like listener stories for Midweek Minis or questions for Midweek Minis, send those to our email address, southernspiritspodcast@gmail.com. You can also send us questions or personal stories to our Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. We'll get them there too. We collect them all, we hoard them, and we distribute them on Wednesdays when you're least expecting them. If you have any fun stuff to send us, like postcards or items you just want us to have, we have a P.O. Box, which is P.O. Box 1743 in Hartselle, Alabama. That's HARTSELLE 35640. And we will see y'all next week.
Bye, y'all.